Morning. Thanks for coming in.
Morning. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Brought a copy of
Great.
cover letter.
Excellent. And my resume. Here you are.
Thank you.
Thank
Here
you.
are. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Mario.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I believe you've been given background information in terms of how this interview will go. So Rory and I will ask you a series of questions, and some are scenario questions, and you'll also do a tech demonstration as
Okay.
well. So we'll jump right into things because we don't have a whole lot of time. So the first question that we have for you is, tell us a bit about what you were doing before Year Up, how you heard about the program, and why you decided to join.
Okay, so prior to Europe, I was actually in a program called Job Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And while Job Corps, I was studying to be a medical assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And so prior to that, I was learning professionalism was where it's like Year Up, but not as intense. It was a year-long program as well. I received an internship at APEB, Asia Project of the East Bay in Oakland. And during that time, I developed my skills in computers as well as working with patients. And what made me join Europe was when So came by to our facility and came to speak with us and how the Europe program can change. And my thought at the time was to incorporate medical and my tech together to hopefully progress into the work field, make myself more of a desired applicant in the work environment. And so do you mind repeating the next part of the question? It was,
Sure, yeah. So you said how you heard about the program, great.
Yes.
So what you're doing before, you let us know. So yeah, and why you decided to join, which you talked a little about. Would you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Or
yeah, so why I joined essentially was the information session. So really spoke to me. Everything he said resonated.
Mm-hmm.
Being part of the opportunity to buy. I felt at Job Corps, it was a lot of the kids were part of the opportunity to buy. They came with broken backgrounds, as well as myself, identifying with that. So once I saw it wasn't just a tech program, it was also a community building experience, I thought to why not benefit myself in that, joining this program, becoming essentially what Europe's ideal product. That's my essential goal of joining this.
Okay. So why tech specifically? I mean, there are all sorts of other fields you could have chosen to get into. Why did you choose tech?
I actually had a past experience with tech. In my high school program, it was called Finance Academy, and we worked with Microsoft Word as well as Excel. Not so much with Outlook, but we touched base on that. And during my time there, I actually earned an internship at BlackRock. And at BlackRock, I was given the opportunity to put my skills to the test with Microsoft Word, learning Outlook, and furthering my skills in Excel. So I was able to learn how to formulate cells in a certain manner, formulate tables, all the content. And the reason for tech is just because it's such a booming industry. Like there's always something to learn with tech. That's something I personally enjoy, just having something to learn every day. Just not having a stagnant field, knowing this and then applying it to my everyday life, but always having something changing.
So tell us about what was your biggest challenge or growth area during learning and development? Wait, was it my turn?
Yeah.
Did I cut you? Okay. Okay. So what was your biggest challenge or growth area during learning and development? What did you do to overcome this challenge? And what specifically will you do to plan ahead and ensure you are set up for success on internship in this area?
Okay, so it was what I struggled with.
Yeah, what growth area?
Yes.
What you did to overcome it, and then what are you going to do at your internship to make sure it doesn't reappear there?
So what I really struggled with was just the overall transition. Prior to Europe, just Job Corps wasn't as intense as I said before. It was just kind of a mellow program where people got through. But as Europe, the structure is more facilitates. It's heavily influenced, and making that that transition from a lack of structure to heavy structure was a big change for me. So prior to this, actually, I did my recommend essay, and I received feedback, and what I did to bounce back from that, I went from 85 points to now I'm at 145. So I'm personally proud of that. And what I did was just accept the feedback, know that it's coming from a good place. Prior to this, I was not receptive to that, and always just being able to be self-aware of being able to step back essentially from the situation and assess myself and my strengths, because there's always room for improvement for strengths, and with growth of making those into strengths. And what I plan to do to ensure that is just remind myself of what I don't want to be. Because prior to this, again, just not having that structure and just the fear of not being something in life. So also just keeping in contact with my coaches and people who have supported me throughout this time.
Great strategies.
So you're here to interview for the project coordinator role.
Correct. Yes.
So can you tell me what makes you a strong candidate for that role?
I feel I'm very versatile in project coordination. I know I can be versatile in team membership or team settings. So being able to take the leadership role, as well as to just let other people do step up and being able to step back. So collaboration skills I feel is one of my skill sets, as well as I know I have experience with Microsoft Office, so I'm comfortable with it. I'm attention to detail with Excel. I'm learning new tricks every day to navigate through these programs with ease. And overall, I like working with people. It's something I feel like I can do naturally.
So, scenario based.
Yep.
Great. So now we're going to ask you a scenario-based question.
Okay.
And I want to ask one that's related to PM. So, let's see. Okay. If I asked you to run a weekly 15-minute stand-up check-in meeting with the team so we can update each other on projects we're working on, how would you do that?
To run a 15-minute meeting just to check on how the teams are doing.
On updates, yeah. How would you do that? How would you go about setting that up? How would you do it?
Definitely get familiar with the system that the company's using, such as like if they were to use Outlook, send those emails out, get the list of people who I need to get in contact with. Prior to the meeting, I would have to, of course, see what their status is with the projects, make sure everything's up to date, and if not, get in touch with them further to see why they're not up to date with things and what I can do to help. Other sources would just be phone calls. That's another way of contacting. And yeah, that's would essentially be my go-to. And essentially, I know there would be leaders within those groups. Keep in contact with them, and then have them also kind of just facilitate what's going on and just keep everyone in the loop of information.
Great. And what would you do to help structure that meeting? Any strategies or thoughts?
Definitely have those like group leaders within those facilities. So say if I'm working with a QA group or quality assurance group, and people who do more tech or just communications of that sort, I would have them, overlook that, as well as having them overlook that, but keeping an eye as well, not just to rely on them to make sure everything's running smoothly. Essentially, I would be taking charge of that. Every once in a while, I'd go in and probably talk with the team themselves, check on them one-on-one to make sure the projects are running smoothly.
Okay.
Can you tell me a system you use to stay organized? Like how do you keep track of deadlines, action items, follow-ups?
My planner is my real lifesaver for that. I write the day of when deliverables due or what action item I have, bold it, underline it, highlight, put a star, anything that's going to catch my attention to that goal. I also have my hand. This is not very professional, but I do write stuff in my hand because I know I have. I'm always going to be looking there, so I have something if I do tend to forget, I'll look there just to make sure, okay, I have something I need to complete. So essentially I have 2 planners. My email is another source. I email myself because I do check my email at least 5 to 6 times a day. And I'll have check-ins like, you need to do this, and a priority of what needs to be done and when it's due. That's my main source of organization, as well as keeping contact with my peers. Just making sure I don't slip through with miscommunication in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So having them be a backup source.
Share one career goal that you've set for yourself, and what are the steps or actions that you've taken to reach that goal?
Can you elaborate on career goal like that?
So, for example, you said that you want to do project management. Tell us a little bit more about that. What are you doing to make sure that you end up in that career path, and that you're knowledgeable of it? So something related to that.
I'm definitely working on expanding my network. During the LinkedIn trip, I made contact with someone, Sydney Lai, and she's actually invited me to go back to LinkedIn and talk to people to get me into the project coordination track over there. So that was my main, or that is my main focus right now. Also, just to ensure that I stay on top of project coordination, I'm always just looking for ways to make project time and delivery, to just cut it down. So always being punctual with my delivery, having efficient work time.
Should we go to a task list?
Sure. Yep.